Yeah.
Morning, everybody, and happy weekend. If you're watching this later, hope you had a great weekend. Watch some baseball, something like that, before the store shelves run empty and we get a demand economy, which is, I think, communism. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's the definition of it. From what I recall, is when the government starts making decisions on what people can buy. Wanted to come on here because our president just had a disaster interview on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. I know Midas is already on top of it. So is the Bulwark, and I'm sure Mockler and everybody else probably is, but I've only seen a few. Because, yeah, holy cow. This brings up just the video I did last night. Like, who's really president? Because it's not this guy. He doesn't know anything. He is living in a fantasy world. Like, I've joked before, like this is the emperor's new clothes, where he walks around. It's a children's story where this emperor, everybody's scared of him, and so he, somebody convinces him like he has some invisible clothes, and he starts walking around naked because like, oh, these are my new clothes. They're the finest ones ever. Blah 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 blah. Blah. And it took a child to say, "Dude, you're naked," and nobody else in the story was. They were so scared of this guy to tell him that these aren't clothes, you're just walking around naked. This is what it's like. This is literally what we're living in. We're living in this story. I mean, I'm fully expecting like Kim Jong Un's dad, where they used to claim like he played golf and he had 9 holes in one, and he never went to the bathroom. We're getting there. Like, if you saw that cabinet meeting the other week, like the psychophancy and just complete disregard for any type of truth or willingness to stand up to him just is it is North Korea-esque. And we're getting ready to have a military parade on his birthday. Um, it's this is just insanity itself. But like, in, I usually I try to start these with like unrelated news, like baseball, basketball. The second round, next round of the playoffs start. Basketball playoffs start tonight. Huge basketball fan myself. Um, Lakers are out of it. My Pacers are still in it. Bulls, God, didn't make it, but definitely Pacers are going to start here in a little bit, and I'm going to be pulling for Halliburton and all those guys. But this, yeah, I let's just be about it. As the title says, Trump doesn't know. I think that's the ultimate overriding theme of this Meet the Press interview, is that he doesn't know. It's not the buck stops here anymore. It is, I don't know. I didn't do it. You have to ask somebody else. And for a president, that's just not acceptable. That shouldn't be acceptable. That's 25th Amendment territory, really. Because we should not have a president that doesn't know what is going on, or directs people to, well, you need to talk to the attorney general on that, or, oh, you need to talk to the secretary of state on that. That's not acceptable. I don't care if you are right wing, left wing, center, independent. Um, we should never have a president of the United States who sits there and says, here's this major topic I've been talking about forever, but I don't know. You have to talk to somebody else. I have no clue. And I don't know. I brought up in a previous video his like vocal, like I even watched a little, like I accidentally clicked a video from like 2 months ago when he did Meet the Press. And the decline is astonishing. I've talked about this vocal thing he has, where now he talks very quietly, and he's got that almost more cowbell, Christopher Walken type cadence to his speech, where you have to do this, and or the and for a guy that's made fun of many people with disabilities and everything else, this is kind of, um, yeah, I'll make fun of it. He's the president. He has no idea, and he's no longer has the ability to fake it anymore. Like I remember a story they used to tell, like he didn't understand time zones. Like he's that dumb. He did not understand time zones. So I'm just going to go into it here. We're just gonna head into this clip. Um, there's a bunch here, and I didn't get a chance to timestamp it. Please remember to like and subscribe. That help out a lot because I do have a little bit different perspective as a lifelong Republican, and I don't come from the legal side. I don't come from journalism. I love Don Lemon, but he's a journalist. The Midas brothers all are either in law or worked in you know video production or something like that. Mockler is a college student, and I think Beasley started as a guy, and I like all those guys, but they all come from a progressive angle. And um, I've worked in manufacturing. I know, yeah. My wife says you need to stop talking about your manufacturing, but you know what? I lived this life. What he's talking about right now, trying to repair, is where I live. I mean, it's what I do. So when people talk, Midas can talk supply chains all they want. I actually know about it. I know what's coming. I can see my reports during the day of what's happening with it. So if anybody wants to have me on and talk about it, be happy to. Um, but let's go here. Hold on, there we go.
The children will have $2 instead of $30.
Yeah.
And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls. I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could.
Okay. Maybe some people out there don't know this yet, but a trade deficit does not come from it doesn't come from our government. It's not their money. It's our money. We decided that we would like to pay China to manufacture something, a good, a service, something, a doll, and they send it here. And then we put it on a shelf and then we sell it to other people. It's not like we don't get nothing for our money. When we have a trade deficit, it means we bought something from that other country. We bought something and it went into our economy and somebody else sold it or used it, or you put it in your house to make your house nicer. You installed it in your car to make it run better. You put it on a store shelf so you could sell it to other people, or you used it and you made food that you could then sell in your restaurant. That's what a trade deficit is. This is not our government sending money over to China for nothing. That is not what a trade deficit is. This is, again, the dumbest president ever. I've skirted it, just kind of like, oh well, maybe he doesn't really. The people around him, Stephen Miller particularly, and others, are doing a disservice to our nation by not trying to even educate this man on what he is doing.
Could have $3 instead of $30. Are you saying Americans could see empty store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need to have $30. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils.
It is not his decision what we can have or not. That is communism. That is Russia. That is dear leader territory. Oh, well, the American people should only buy dolls. The American people should only buy blue cars. This is not the United States. This man here is not the United States. He doesn't know what it means to be this country. He has no idea. He doesn't respect our Constitution. He doesn't respect our, financial system. And it's time to wake up if you are MAGA or Republican. This is not Reagan. This is not the best president ever. This is the worst president ever. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. And if you don't want to be tarred by the same brush, you better jump on board with getting rid of him. Because if there's never a clearer sign for 25th Amendment, he's worse than Reagan. And Reagan was an Alzheimer's, like full-blown Alzheimer's. He's worse than Reagan in his second term. Let that sink in. This man knows less than an advanced Alzheimer's patient. Anything yet? Anything?
They can have 5.
But you're basically saying there could be some supply
I'm
shortages
basically saying
because
we
of
don't
the
have to
tariff.
waste money on a trade deficit with China for things we don't need, for junk that we don't need.
Well,
not his decision, not his money. It's our money. If we decide we don't want to buy junk from China, we don't. There's been decades of, labels that say American made or labels that say made in China so that we could avoid buying that. And if it's junk, we don't buy it. Or if you just want cheaper prices and you're okay with installing junk, then you buy from China. That's called choice. That's called freedom. This is anti-freedom. This man does not believe in freedom. If he doesn't believe in the freedom for you and I to buy the goods and services that we want and spend our money to do it, then he is not a freedom-loving president. He despises freedom.
prices are already going up on some popular
Whoa,
items.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Tires,
Whoa, whoa.
strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices
No,
are
no.
down on groceries. Prices are
Right.
down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like,
Okay. In this one, just do you not believe your own eyes? Just if you're MAGA or anybody else, when you get gas, look at the pump. Is it lower than it was 6 months ago? Is it lower than it was 2 months ago? Is it $1.98? I know it's not anywhere around where I live.
a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy. It went up to $3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6, right? Okay.
What's going on?
I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now. When you go that much low,
Which ones? Someone, for the love of God, ask him which ones, which states. It's always many and a lot and most and many countries. No, ask him specifics. Which country? Which countries have you negotiated trade deals with? Which states have $1.98 gasoline? I mean, I've never, anybody who's had children should know. You have to ask the direct question. Otherwise, we have to treat the president like a child because he has the mental capacity of one.
lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction because I really thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places. But when you say costs are going up,
I mean, Costco with a membership card and a substantial discount because you bought a bunch of stuff, maybe. I mean, I don't know how that works. I know, again, I think people are just telling him this shit, and he doesn't have the capacity. Look with the photoshopping. He doesn't know what Photoshop is. He sees the most obvious Photoshop picture in the world. It's just like, well, yeah, it's tattooed right there. This is not a bright man. This is not a man who has his faculties intact.
even mortgage rates are going down.
Well,
You know,
but
we
let me
have
give you
mortgage
some
rates.
examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices that are going down, some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your
Excuse
tariffs.
me, that's peanuts compared to
Well-
energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you
Energy is the big.
you campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on.
Are going up. What kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline is thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want and they need relief?
I think they're both pretty important. They're both pretty important. When you're
Relief right now.
And they're getting it.
Right now? What
Mortgage-
about those
even mortgage rates? It was
different
just
items
announced,
I just
mortgage
mentioned?
rates are going down, despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, 35.
By the way, let's talk for a second about how he's sitting in that chair. I mean, he is an old man. And I certainly don't have the best posture. But he's kind of looking like Smeagol or Gollum, you know.
$5. You can have 2, 3, 4 and save a lot of money. We don't need to feed the beast.
I guess you're talking about this transition cost. How long should people expect that transition to last, Mr. President?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that we're making a lot of money. We're doing great. Again, we're losing more than $5 billion.
We weren't. We were spending money to purchase goods that then went into our economy and got sold to people in exchange for money.
A day, $5 billion a day. You don't talk about that. And right now, we're going to be at a point.
Yeah, think of that. So right now, $5 billion a day, $5 billion a day has been removed from the U.S. economy. Gone. It doesn't exist anymore because that company can no longer sell that good in exchange for money. So they have to go somewhere else. That's what shortages do. The $5 billion doesn't come back to the United States. The company that was sending that money overseas doesn't have the capability of just revamping it. So now they're going to pay substantially more money. So now we're going to lose even more than $5 billion a day. It's just some of it is going to go to our government in the form of taxes. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I used to know a lot of people. I don't know, they were called Tea Party Republicans. Maybe a lot of them are still in frickin' government. Remember what you guys were upset about in 2010, 2011? You know, taxed enough already? This is the biggest tax hike in American history. The biggest. Where you at? Where you at, guys? You made a big stink in not 11 years ago.
Very soon, we're making money every day. Look,
the government will be making money, not us. We will not be making money off this. The government will. Before the tariffs, we were making the money. We were. You, me, the small business owner stocked his shelves with Chinese strollers and goods manufactured in China or other countries. The restaurant that was making meals out of, rice and other, food items that they would bring in from overseas, like brie or camembert or champagne from France. Avocados from Mexico. Those were goods purchased from another country to come in, and then we used it. Small businesses used it to generate wealth, to generate other goods and services. It didn't get taken by the government, which is what he has done. That money is being taken from us by the government.
How soon?
We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars with China. Now we're essentially not doing business with China. Therefore, we're saving hundreds of billions of dollars. Very simple.
You take me to my next question, which is about China. They've been making a number of public statements.
Very
so dumb. Like literally, the dumb it burns. It's the same reaction I have when someone says the Earth is flat, and I know an airline pilot. Blah, 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 blah. Or I even have a family member who thinks we live under a giant crystal dome. All right, I was a STEM major in college, and I have the same almost physical reaction to this stupid stuff because it is dumb. It is the I've read, I've read journals and I've read, I've done experiments to prove that what I know, what I say is fact, and you spent 5 minutes while sitting on the toilet on Facebook. That's the level of understanding this man has of the economy. He read something on Facebook while sitting on the toilet.
Positive statements the last 24 hours.
Well, and most recently, they said before talks could happen, the U.S. would need to remove unilateral tariffs. Would you consider dropping the tariffs to get China to the negotiating table?
No, they first of all, you're giving me a statement that was said a week ago. You're not giving the statement that was said today.
I have May 2nd Chinese Commerce Ministry.
Do you know what they said today?
The U.S.
We're
wants to
looking
negotiate.
forward-
It should show sincerity by preparing to take actions in correcting its mistakes and canceling the unilateral tariffs.
They made, first of all, they made numerous statements.
Yes, they've made
You know how
numerous
many
statements.
people speak for
Yes.
China? It's like
Yes.
50
They've
different-
made numerous
I
statements.
can give you a
Yes.
statement for any occasion.
Yes, yes.
But they said today they want to talk. Look, China, and I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. China's getting killed right now. They're getting absolutely destroyed. Their factories are closing. Their unemployment is going through the roof. I'm not looking to do that to China. Now, at the same time, I'm not looking to have China make hundreds of billions of dollars and build more ships and more army tanks and more airplanes.
So you're not, just to be very clear, you're not dropping the tariffs against China to get them to the negotiating table. Those
Why would
tariffs
I-
are staying on.
Why would I do
Would
that?
you lower them?
At some point, I'm going to lower them because otherwise you could never do business with them.
Yeah.
And they want to do business very much. Look, their economy is really doing badly. Their economy is collapsing.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs and some could be forced to shut
And
down.
many businesses are being helped.
Are you
Look at the
considering
automobile
tariff
business.
relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what's Trump's done for the automobile? I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking.
I'm a small business guy. I've only worked in small business. 80% of the U.S. population works for a small business. The President of the United States just dismissed 80% of the working people in the United States. You just make strollers.
Asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Are these tariffs permanent, Mr. President?
Depends on what you're talking about. One of the things that is going to bring and has brought. So I think.
I honestly can't listen to this anymore. It's so stupid. I do want to check something because I have a spy. I want to see what happens towards the end of the interview here. I haven't watched all of it yet.
Country would have failed. We would have been a failed nation.
You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican
Greatest
Party.
Sitting there.
It's transformed the country,
The
quite
greatest
frankly.
Political movement in history, MAGA.
When
Make
you
America great again.
when you look to the future, Mr. President, do you think the MAGA movement
abolition
can
movement's
survive
probably more-
without you as its leader?
Yes, I do.
What gives you
I think it's so strong, and I think we have tremendous people. I think we have a tremendous group of people. But he's still sharp. He's need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for internet. It was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't.
Military force to take Canada?
Well, I think
Oh.
we're not going to ever get
wow.
to that
I've
point.
been
It
here.
could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not
I
with
think it's
Canada?
highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think we're subsidized. They think we are going to protect them. And really, we are. But the
But also nobody wants to do anything to Canada. Like,
truth is, they don't carry their full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our
But
taxpayers.
you are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there.
Just,
We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security. Do you know we have Russian boats and we have Chinese boats, gunships all over the place, aircraft carriers, gunships, going up and down the coast of
Russia doesn't. I think Russia has one aircraft carrier and it's rotting and rusting in the ocean. Chinese aircraft carriers, I don't think have left the South China Sea yet. Is he? I'm honestly can't listen anymore. Holy cow. That is tell you what, I mean, if there's not 25th Amendment territory, I don't know what is. The man doesn't know what's going on. He has no concept of what he's doing, what he's being told. And I think we learned from Reagan and probably MAGA, if you want to admit it, Biden and progressive Biden a little bit, that we cannot have a president like this anymore. It can't happen. We need someone who has a grasp of what is going on, and he doesn't. And he's doing whatever his advisors tell. Like, I mean, he talks about an auto pen. Dude, he doesn't even have an original thought. This is. Please hit like and subscribe. Again, comments if you want to chat about any of those topics I just discussed. Particularly, like, look, prices are going to go up. They're going to go up substantially. That's not a joke. That is like the last untariffed cargo is being offloaded right now. And after that, there's nothing. There's literally nothing. I'm out getting commitments for post-tariff product right now. And I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be a 70 to 80% price increase on everything. Everything from China is going to be a 70 to 80% price increase. Yeah. Bye, YouTube.